Thermopylae, the 300 Spartans that defied an empire. In the narrow pass where mountains meet the sea, 300 men once stood against an ocean of enemies. In August 480 BC, King Leonidas of Sparta led his royal bodyguard to a place the Greeks called the Hot Gates, Thermopylae. Behind them lay the road to Athens, to Delphi, to every free city of Hellas. Before them marched the greatest empire the world had ever seen, led by Xerxes, the king of kings. The Persians came with hundreds of thousands. The Greeks came with 7,000, and then with far fewer. For 3 days, the world held its breath. This is the story of the stand that became legend. The Persian juggernaut had been 10 years in the making. In 490 BC, Xerxes' father Darius had sent an expedition that was crushed at Marathon by a handful of Athenians. The insult burned. Xerxes vowed not just revenge, but total subjugation. He spent 4 years preparing, cutting a canal through Mount Athos, building a bridge of ships across the Hellespont, stockpiling food along the invasion route. Ancient sources claimed 2 million combatants. Modern scholars settle on 200,000 or 300,000, still the largest army antiquity ever saw. From India to Egypt, every nation sent its sons: Medes, Persians, Kissians, Sakai, Bactrians, Indians in cotton, Ethiopians in lion skins, the 10,000 immortals who never let their number fall below perfection. Greece had no standing army, no central command, only fractious city-states. Many were ready to medize, to submit and save themselves. A congress at Corinth formed a desperate alliance. Sparta would command on land, Athens at sea. But the calendar worked against them. It was the sacred month of Carnaia. Spartan law forbade campaigning. The Olympic truce bound every Greek state. Only a token force could march before the festivals ended. Leonidas volunteered to lead it. He chose 300 Spartans, every man a proven warrior and a father, so no family line would die with him. To these he added perhaps 900 Helot attendants and 700 Thespians, 400 Thebans, and smaller contingents from Arcadia, Corinth, Phocis, and Locris, roughly 7,000 in all. They reached Thermopylae in early August. The pass was perfect. At its narrowest, only a cart width wide, cliffs on the left, sea on the right. Here numbers meant nothing, only courage and bronze. Xerxes arrived and waited 4 days, certain the Greeks would flee at the sight of his host. They did not. On the 5th day, he attacked. The first wave was Medes and Kissians. They advanced in dense columns, urged forward by officers' whips. The Spartans locked shields, 8 feet of spear leveled in perfect silence. When the Persians came within range, the bronze wall stepped forward as one. Spears thrust, shields slammed, men died in heaps. The Greeks fought in relays. One line battled, while others rested, 8 sharpened blades. The Medes broke and were replaced by the immortals. They fared no better. By nightfall, thousands of Persians lay dead. Greek losses were trivial. Day 2 followed the same pattern. Xerxes hurled nation after nation against the pass. The ground grew slippery with blood. Spartan spears snapped. They drew swords. Swords bent. They fought with broken shafts and bare hands. Persian dead were used as barriers. When told the enemy arrows would blot out the sun, the Spartan Dienekes smiled and said, "Excellent, then we shall have our battle in the shade." On the second night, everything changed. A local Greek named Ephialtes, hoping for Persian gold, revealed the Anopaia path, a steep mountain track that circled behind the pass. Before dawn, 10,000 immortals were climbing it. At first light, a Phocian lookout saw them and fled. The betrayal was complete. Leonidas learned at sunrise. Most allies begged to retreat. He dismissed them. The Thebans and some others left under suspicion. 700 Thespians, led by Demophilus, refused to abandon their comrades. The 300 Spartans and their helots stayed. They ate a quiet breakfast, oiled and braided their long hair, the Spartan custom of men about to die gloriously, and marched to the widest part of the pass where they could maneuver. The final fight was no longer a holding action. It was a death song. Spartans charged into the Persian masses, driving deep before being surrounded. Leonidas fell early, cut down while standing over a wounded comrade. 4 times the Persians tried to seize his body for Xerxes. 4 times the Greeks drove them back with desperate fury. Spears gone, they used swords, daggers, teeth, fists. At last, the immortals from the rear path closed the circle. Arrows darkened the sky. The last Greeks formed a ring around their king's corpse and died where they stood. Xerxes walked the battlefield in rage. He had lost perhaps 20,000 men, an entire army's worth, for 3 days' delay. He ordered Leonidas beheaded and crucified. The rest of the dead he tried to hide, burying thousands in mass graves so his army would not see the cost. Yet Thermopylae was not defeat. It was the price of victory. By holding the pass, Leonidas forced Xerxes to keep his fleet nearby for support. This gave the Greek navy time to withdraw safely. It bought weeks for the allies to evacuate Attica and prepare the decisive sea fight at Salamis. Without Thermopylae, there would have been no Salamis, no Plataea, no survival of Greek freedom. The pass is quiet now. The sea has receded, the cliffs have crumbled. A modern highway runs where the phalanx stood, but a stone lion once marked Leonidas's grave, and the words carved by Simonides remain. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. 300 names are inscribed on the hill. 700 Thespians lie forgotten nearby. Their stand lasted 3 days. Its echo has lasted 2.5 millennia. The story did not end when the last Spartan fell. It only began. Xerxes marched south believing Greece broken. He burned an empty Athens, sacked the Acropolis, and sat on a golden throne at Salamis to watch his fleet destroy the Greeks. Instead, he watched it die. The narrow waters that had favored Leonidas on land now favored Themistocles at sea. 200 Persian ships were sunk in a single afternoon. The great king fled to Asia, leaving Mardonius with the remnants of his army. 9 months later, in August 479 BC, the final battle came at Plataea. 80,000 Greeks, led by the Spartan regent Pausanias, faced the last Persian host. When the Persian cavalry commander fell, the barbarians panicked and ran. Mardonius was killed, his army slaughtered or scattered. The same day, the Greek fleet destroyed what remained of Persian naval power at Mycale. The invasion was over. Greece survived because of a narrow pass held for 72 hours by men who knew they would not see another sunrise. The 300 became more than soldiers. They became the measuring stick of courage. Every later stand against impossible odds, Alamo, Rorke's Drift, Bastonia, carries their shadow. The word Spartan entered languages meaning austere, disciplined, unflinching. The image of red cloaks and lambda shields became the universal symbol of the few against the many. Yet the truth is more complex than the legend. They were not alone. 700 Thespians chose death with them. 900 Helots and Perioikoi fought and died unnamed. Thousands of Phocians, Locrians, and others held the mountain path until betrayal made it impossible. Thermopylae was a Greek stand, not just a Spartan one, and Leonidas was no comic book hero. He was a 50-year-old king who chose duty over life, law over survival. He dismissed most of his army not from arrogance, but from calculation. Someone had to live to fight the next battle. He stayed because Sparta could not be seen to retreat, because someone had to buy the time Greece needed, because the oracle had demanded a Spartan king. The cost was staggering. Every Spartan who fell left a widow and fatherless sons. Sparta's population of full citizens, never more than 8 or 9,000, could not afford such losses. Within a generation, the city began its slow decline. The stand that saved Greece also bled Sparta white. Still, the echo rings. When Allied soldiers landed at Normandy, some carried copies of the Simonides epitaph in their pockets. When 300 Texans held the Alamo, they knew the older story. When Korean Marines defended Hill 673 in 1952, their commander quoted Dienekes about fighting in the shade. Today, the rebuilt monument at Thermopylae bears Leonidas in bronze, sword pointed forward, cloak streaming. Beneath him, the simple line, "Come and take them." The pass has changed. The sea has retreated 3 miles. Silt and time filled the hot gates until only a wide plain remains. But every year, on the August full moon, Greeks gather to light torches and read the names of the fallen. 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and all the others whose names the stones have forgotten. They held the line for 3 days. They hold the imagination still. That is the true victory of Thermopylae.